Hello and welcome to Movie Film Studios, the only podcast that takes you inside the mind of two film studio executives as we unravel and then re-ravel the best that Hollywood has to offer. I'm Isaac.
And I'm AJ, and this week Queen Elizabeth hired Vincent van Gogh to cut off his own ear as he searched desperately for foster kids to call his own. But before we get into something new, it's time for something old as we check in on our last feature in Box Office Report.
So last week we released the Wall Street horror film The Pantheon, which sort of delved into the ancient Greek rituals around the banking sector of Wall Street in the 80s.
Yep.
Starring Margot Robbie and Dakota Johnson.
Dakota Johnson, yes.
How did that go last week, AJ?
We set a record. And the record we set is most consecutive lawsuits filed against a production ever.
Really?
As soon as we announced this film that it was going to be set on Wall Street, every single company on Wall Street and somehow a firm representing the physical street itself launched multiple lawsuits in our direction. I'm talking hundreds of lawsuits.
Really?
For a huge amount of infractions. So we are kind of in a very, very... And when I say legal bind, I mean legal bind. There is enough legal paper here to wrap up our entire building twice over. So we have not really been able to start production on this film.
I wasn't aware Wall Street was suing us, because I'm only under the impression of the legal case we have against the country of Greece.
Yes.
Because sort of like China does with the panda, where you have to pay them licensing for if you want to have that animal.
Yep.
The Greeks have put a thing against the ancient Greek deities, where any mention of them in any film, we also have to pay licensing for.
Yep.
Which, I mean, we've done this a number of times. We did the Puppums did the Odyssey.
Yep.
And they're sort of trying to get back catalogs from. I think they're just trying to buoy up their own economy. But we have a number of, like, every single time we mention the word Zeus or Artemis or Apollo, they've put a separate infraction case against it. I thought all the legal paper was for that as well. I didn't know anything.
So you're telling me we're also being sued by Greece and
the country
of Greece for usage of the Greek gods. Okay, so not only are we being sued by Wall Street, every company that's on there, and also Greece. I've just been handed two more lawsuits from Dakota Johnson and
Margot
Robbie, and the reason why is because we use their names liberally in last week's episodes, and libelously as well. In fact, the two mentions of their name I just mentioned in this podcast are going to get added to that suit as well. So we are being sued up the arse.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Whatever we make this week...
I've just got one as well. We're also being sued by the Californian redwood. Apparently, so much paper has been milled from the trees to launch the lawsuits against us that they're suing us for the manufacture of paper, which is causing deforestation.
Why? How's that our fault?
I mean, apparently all the paper's here, so technically we own it, and technically it's our fault.
Right.
This is getting ridiculous.
This is getting really ridiculous. All right, any film that we make this week is purely going to cover the legal costs for last week's debacle, so we're going to really have to knock it out of the park here. All right, so let's move on to this week in trailers. And first up, we have Instant Family, starring Mark Wahlberg, Rose Byrne, and directed by a dude called Sean Anders, who's done films. And so this film is about Mark Wahlberg and Rose Byrne. They're a couple who are looking to start a family, and instead of going down the natural pregnancy route, they decide to adopt foster kids instead, and end up adopting, I think, three of them?
Three of them? They meet a pretty sassy girl at the Foster Day parent fair where they get to meet the kids, and they decide they're going to give her a go, and it turns out she has two younger siblings who are also...
It's a package deal.
It's a package deal, absolutely. They take them home, and I'm like, oh, is this a comedy? Is this a drama? It looks a little bit more like a drama. And then they start playing sports, and the younger of the kids just keeps getting hit in the face with baseballs and basketballs. I'm like, oh, it's a comedy. And they're like, oh, no, and then it hits these really serious drama moments of, you're not my real mum, and I'm running away. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a drama. And then they start smashing things with hammers. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a comedy. I don't know if the film knows what it wants to be. It seems like a really weird blend of the two.
It's the kind of film where if someone walks into the film because they haven't seen a comedy or a drama before, and they just need a really easy entry into those two genres, this is the perfect film for it, because it's the kind of film where the comedy is there, and it's, people getting hit in the face with balls and stuff, and
It also looks like like an Adam Sandler film. It looks like Grown Ups in the way that it has these weird sort of crane shots. Everything's bright and saturated. The soundtrack sort of feels like it's generic comedy soundtrack.
Yep.
But they kind of missed the point of going, oh no, we're not dealing with the subject matter which is conducive to comedy at all.
Yep.
And so we kind of then have to put this weird slapstick over the top, and it just doesn't. It feels.
It looks horrid.
And it like I felt the residual belly flop pain of just how badly I just feel that like this film is going to flop so badly. It's echoing through time, and I'm getting.
You just know that plain people will go and see it. You know, the people that have like half a personality and just sort of have a schedule for every day of their lives, and they'll sort of do a wild thing one night and go out and watch a comedy film, and this will be it. This will be what they watch, and they will mildly enjoy it, and it will make it its money back.
And it's also got Rose Byrne in it. She seemed to be playing like the generic wife of like a slightly dysfunctional character. She was with Seth Rogen in Bad Neighbors. She's been in a few other films. I think
Peter Rabbit, she was in recently.
Peter Rabbit. She was in Bridesmaids, right? I feel as though she sort of plays that kind of character in Bridesmaids.
Yes, she was, and she was also in Neighbours.
Well, it's Bad Neighbours in Australia. I mentioned that one. Spy, I think she was in as
yes,
well. I'm not sure it was anyone's wife.
And
now we're just naming Rose Byrne films. I think we've gone off track a little bit.
All right, on to the next film for this week's episode, which is At Eternity's Gate, starring Willem Dafoe,
Oscar Isaac,
Mads Mikkelsen.
If you think the name of this film is pretentious, wait until you watch the trailer. This is about the life and times of Vincent van Gogh, or Van Gogh, I think as it's pronounced in Dutch.
That's how he heard it after he cut his ear off.
I think from the director of The Butterfly and The Diving Bell, or it's just like, oh, I'm Vincent van Gogh and I want to paint, but the world doesn't like my painting, and I'm struggling against it. And then Mads Mikkelsen, I think, as a priest, is like, if God wanted to punish you, do you think he'd make you paint? And Oscar Isaac plays Gauguin, I think, is another Dutch painter of the same time frame. And it's really just William Dafoe going through these incredibly scenic Dutch landscapes and like standing there with an easel and painting, basically, and then townsfolk sort of like with pitchforks shooing him out of town because he's painting so
he's got that he's got the Frankenstein kind of thing going there. No one understands me. I've been born into this world and I don't understand it, and it doesn't understand me, and there are literal pitchforks and people like burying his art as well. Like it's a bit like that. At Eternity's Gate is the name of a relatively famous painting by him as well, but on the poster it's got that kind of like that stupid, it's so pretentious. It is like,
having said that, William Dafoe looks so much like Vincent van Gogh.
He's a
crazy
dead ringer for Vincent van Gogh in a way that like I'm kind of kicking myself for not casting him
not seeing
as
it
a
earlier.
Vincent van Gogh character.
Paul Bettany play Vincent van Gogh at one stage as well?
He might have. I'm trying to think back. We did an El Salvador film where we cast Benedict Cumberbatch, I think, as Salvador Dali, and that's not a good match.
We're struggling there because you just put in a great big mustache. William Dafoe has the eyes, he has the demeanor,
the lack of an ear,
a giant straw hat, which apparently is also
exactly. You can see At Eternity's Gate.
This is definitely going for that
other point.
Awards buzz, and they're trying really, really hard for it. It does actually look quite beautiful. It's got some interesting aspects of color when he's sort of going through his manic fits. It either goes yellow or blue. And I'm like, I think it'll be handled quite nicely, but it really is trying so hard to be Oscar worthy.
All right, on to the final film for this week's episode, which is The Favourite, starring Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and Olivia Colman.
Yes.
And it's a sort of a historical drama film with some aspects of black comedy in it, centered around Queen Anne from English time.
Really? I mean, it didn't really specifically say. I thought it was Queen Victoria, but
I'm just reading off.
Yeah, okay, if it's Queen Anne, then that's I believe you.
And Sarah Churchill, who's played by Rachel Weisz.
Cool. So, I mean, basically, it's the Queen is quite temperamental, and she has two handmaidens, one played by Rachel Weisz, one played by Emma Stone, and they are vying to be the Queen's favourite, and they're kind of very at each other's throat, and the stakes of the levels that which they're willing to descend to either tarnish the other one's reputation or cause them pain or grief or injury escalates to the point where it becomes this sort of farcical, you I can't even remember. They shoot. One of them shoots a bird, and the other one's splattered in their blood all over their face.
Yeah.
One of them's thrown out of a carriage. One of them has disappeared for months and sort of finally finding her way back home.
Yeah, you get the idea that Rachel Weisz's character is very acerbic and quite conniving in a sort of slightly evil and demented way, whereas Emma Stone's got a little bit more of the wide-eyed, well, I mean, obviously with her, but like wide-eyed, innocent, not really sure what's going on here, but I'm going to play your game anyway kind of thing. So there's
and I think she also then learns to master the game just as...
Yes.
So I was looking at this, like, for the first couple of seconds of the trailer, I'm like, I hope this is a comedy.
Yep.
And then you see Olivia Colman as Queen Anne, and she's went through the footlights with David Mitchell and Robert Webb, and did a lot of the Mitchell and Webb comedy as well. And it was like, and then you see her like just stuffing her face and falling over. I'm like, oh, thank goodness this is got this dark comedy to go with that sort of historical.
It's a black
weirdness.
dramedy, I think, is basically how you can, or dramedy rather, is basically how you can describe this. So I'm not really sure what the actual film's going to feel like when it comes out. Really interestingly shot as well. A lot of like the use of fisheye lenses for various tracking shots, and it has a very weird otherworldly kind of tone to it. So
kind of feels a little bit Moulin Rouge-ish.
A little bit, yeah.
In the way that it's kind of like a surreal historical. That they don't really shy away from, like, they're in costumes, but it is very muddy. It's very dirty.
It is. It's the British Moulin Rouge. So, Moulin Rouge in France is full of colour, full of pep, full of style. Moulin Rouge in England is full of brown and overcast skies.
Yes.
So this is what, and no music either. So, see that later. Oh, actually, maybe next year if you're in the UK.
Oh, you've probably already seen it if you've been through the film festivals.
Probably,
these are the ones where it's like it shows up with there's olive leaves everywhere. Oh, we were at Cannes and we were at Toronto and we were at Sundance.
Official
and
selection.
Look at all of these laurels that we have won.
Is there an unofficial selection for these film festivals? Is that why they need to like designate one as official?
Possibly. I mean, surely then anyone who's just submitted their film can say unofficial selection.
Didn't we have this idea if we just have a film showing sort of adjacent to the festival, we can just say unofficial selection.
We did that. We actually did that at the last Sundance. We just brought our laptops and sat in the middle of the town.
Didn't even
and
project
just
it.
Watched our own film. Go, yep, it was shown at Sundance during the festival. I don't know what else you need from us.
All right, those are the trailers for this week's episode. But of course, before we can do anything with those, we're going to have to take a little walk over to the green room.
Let's go.
All right, here we are now. Let's have a quick recap of this week's films.
All right, first up we have a sickly sweet family comedy drama with unlikely parents and unwilling kids.
Yep.
We have a incredibly pretentious look at the life of a historic artist.
Yep.
And we have what you described, I think, was a black dramedy set in a historical period.
Yes.
What I didn't mention with the difference between At Eternity's Gate and The Favourite was the stark contrast in the genders of the actors. So the big three in At Eternity's Gate were William Dafoe, Oscar Isaac, and Mads Mikkelsen, all very strong male performers.
Yep.
And then you have The Favourite with Olivia Colman, Rachel Weisz, and Emma Stone, all three very strong female performers.
Yes.
And like the trailers focused on those as pretty much being the only three characters
Indeed.
in the films. I think we should carry that forward. I think we should not the gender divide, but just having three very strong leads and not really like needing anyone else. Almost like if you were putting on a play, you could do it with three actors on stage for the most part.
Yep. So the rest are just extras, I guess.
The rest are extras. And I think we, like I do some weeks as well, is a blend. I really like the black dramedy of The Favourite. I really like the overly pretentiousness of At Eternity's Gate. So I think in some ways, I mean, they're both historical films. Yep. They both have
links to real world people.
Real world people.
Yep.
They both have they're shot in an interesting way. They're telling an interesting subject matter.
Great.
And they have a small ensemble cast of very, very well-known actors.
And nicely shot, too. They're all very artistically shot and look nice, I guess. All right, so what are we going to do?
We've done quite a lot of films with historical figures. We've done Mozart. We've done Pablo Picasso.
Yep.
No, we didn't do Pablo Picasso.
Did Salvador Dali, yes.
Yeah.
And Edgar Allan Poe.
We did Edgar Allan Poe as well a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Where do we draw from this one?
So the thing that came into my mind when I was watching the trailer for At Eternity's Gate is It seems like there's a handful of different artists in this film that you may recognize.
Right, okay.
And immediately what sprung to mind was like, what if there was an artist Avengers?
Right, okay.
Like a collection of artists come together to do something. I don't know what it is. It could be a...
Well, we've got a very strict limit of
Well,
three.
it's just 3, so that's fine. It's like Batman, Robin, and...
Cat, Penguin.
Yeah,
that Avengers group.
Yep.
You're reminding me a little bit of Midnight in Paris,
yes.
where they have the sort of ensemble. I mean, like we said, we've touched on El Salvador... or Salvador Dali with painting.
Yep.
We've touched on Mozart with music, and we've touched on Edgar Allan Poe with literature.
Yep.
Is there another art discipline?
Leonardo da Vinci did a few. He did sculpture.
He did sculpture. I was going to say, why don't we get Michelangelo and Donatello? No, hang on, wait. I'm going down a weird track here. Although, having said that,
you know what?
We could do something which is very reminiscent of the Ninja Turtles, but in a way that actually pays homage to the actual disciplines that they went through.
Are you thinking like a gritty reboot of the Ninja Turtles?
No, it's absolutely nothing to do with the Ninja Turtles. It doesn't even need to be an action film.
Yep.
But it is... Leonardo da Vinci.
Yep.
I don't even know. Raphael, someone or other.
Okay.
It is just those 3 historical artists.
Yep.
And the fact that they happen to have cartoon fighting turtles namesakes is never mentioned or referenced.
That's purely by coincidence.
Just those 4 people.
So it's 4 people.
Oh, it has to be 4 if we're going to do Raphael, Donatello, Michelangelo,
and who's the other one?
Leonardo?
No. Leonardo,
Raphael,
Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael.
I'm fairly sure they all lived at very different historical periods as well. It's always between the 14th and the 15th century in Italy. But I would be very surprised if they were all alive simultaneously.
Well, here's some quick research, and I'm doing the research by simply asking our Academy member about the Ninja Turtles themselves. So Leonardo, obviously named after the Italian polymath who does a whole bunch of different things, Leonardo da Vinci. Michelangelo, named after the Italian Renaissance painter, sculptor, architect, poet, and engineer. Man, they're all multi-talented.
They are very, very multifaceted.
Donatello, named after the early Renaissance Italian artist and sculptor from Florence, Donatello. The early Sher of his day or her day. Raphael is named after the Italian painter and architect of the High Renaissance, Raphael.
Sure, there you go. I think what we're going to have to do here as well is 2 men, 2 females. And we say that history has said that these are all men, but history has been rewritten to write out the fact that 2 of these brilliant architects and mathematicians and inventors and painters and sculptors were women. And then we can just troll the most recent Oscars for whoever was nominated, because in our trailer it has to say Academy Award nominee, Award nominee, Academy Award winner,
Golden Globe nominee.
I think Oscar Isaac only got a Golden Globe nominee or Golden Globe winner. He feels like he's the odd one out in that assembly of those famous people. So the real question then becomes, what are these Renaissance polymaths doing?
So are you mentioned not wanting to do an action film, but
no, this is, I mean, we're going incredibly pretentious.
Okay.
They're doing something that is actually worth pursuing for humanity. They're I can't even, and it's obviously got to have that sort of dark dramedy.
Yep.
Like, one of the big things in the Renaissance that I'm aware of through my historical research in video games like Assassin's Creed is that the Borgias and the Pope had something to do with something. So like, maybe they don't like the Borgias, or maybe they do like the Pope.
It could be that. I also think that maybe, what if they're like attempting to collaborate on some new invention or piece of work that is for the benefit of humankind, they have a falling out as a result because they all have different ideas of what direction it needs to go into.
You know what it is? They're building a cathedral.
Yes.
And it is this centerpiece cathedral in the middle of Rome.
Yep.
And what we do is, to make it historically accurate, these people don't have to have lived at the same time.
Yep.
The cathedral, the hundreds of years that it takes to build the cathedral, is the point that bridges these people's lives. And at different points during the construction and life of the cathedral, each of these historical figures has been brought on board
Yep.
to add to and change it in some way.
Okay.
And that way you have like a young Leonardo doing some initial concept sketches.
Yep.
And then when he's old and Donatello's brought on to
Yep.
do her touches or whatever, there's a relationship there.
Okay.
And it's non-linear and it sort of bounces back and forth between time.
Yeah, we could. I was also thinking, like you mentioning across a series of time gaps or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking of The Notebook, which is a film I've never seen, but my understanding of it is that it happens across 2 periods of time, and they sort of write letters to each other over a period of, or sort of with a gap of about 20 or 30 years or something. And it's supposed to it's basically like basic time travel that's never explained, but somehow one person in the future is writing letters to someone in the past.
That's not at all what The Notebook is about.
No? What film am I thinking
You're
of
thinking
then?
of The Lake House.
That's the one.
Where Keanu Reeves and
Yes.
Sandra Bullock
yeah.
are putting letters in a mailbox. And
Yes.
it's like, the Notebook, they one of them is telling the story of their love and it's going back to
that's
in
no
the
fun.
past. This one actually has magical time travel
Great.
letters.
Okay. I've not seen either of those films, but is that something that we can sort of implement in our film in some
know.
way, shape, or form? Maybe like one of them leaves notes sort of scrawled in the half-finished
I
building.
like that. I like the idea, sort of taking from the idea of The Prestige,
Yep.
which has this sort of like non-linear structure of
Yeah.
reading journals of people who have come before
Yes.
and learning from there. And so we go, this is Raphael reading the notebook of Donatello, and we
Yep.
flash back to Donatello doing the sketches, who's reading the notebook of Da Vinci.
Yep.
Obviously having to have a mirror there because
Yep.
Da Vinci inconveniently writes it backwards in an upside down mirror writing.
right.
And so we have this sort of like non-linear structure
Yes.
of people leaving
Yep.
this legacy for one another.
Yep. All right, this is sounding great. Now, the problem with this is that it's not pretentious enough yet. So
I mean, it is reasonably pretentious.
it is, but it this is skirting along the edge of this could be a good idea for a film. It's not pretentious enough for my liking.
Right, okay.
So we need to somehow up the pretentiousness factor of it.
All right, so, I mean, they are definitely speaking Latin.
Yes.
And our subtitles are in yellow because everyone knows
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
classiest translated subtitles
yeah.
always show up in yellow.
Yeah. When you flick over to SBS at
SBS
9:30 on a Saturday night,
always
you know
has yellow
some
subtitles.
German film in black and white with yellow subtitles is going to have.
All right,
is gonna be
cool.
on.
So we've upped the pretension by having them speak in a foreign language. All right, what else are we doing?
I like the idea of insane artistic symbolism, a la Seventh Seal by Ingmar Bergman, having Death play the soldier.
Okay.
Over a game of chess on the
Again,
beach.
like they do in At Eternity's Gate.
Yep.
There's this thing where Vincent van Gogh's going through these mental breakdowns,
Yep.
and there's color shifts in the palettes
Yep,
used.
yep.
We do that.
Yep.
But in this one,
Perfect.
we have metaphysical, maybe there's sculptures. Maybe did Da Vinci who did the statue of David? That was Michelangelo.
that was- yeah.
Yeah, like Michelangelo actually has a conversation with the statue of Michelangelo as he's having
the statue of David, yeah.
David, yeah,
Yep.
and also the statue of himself that he carved.
I love this because I also like the idea of Leonardo da Vinci talking to the Vitruvian Man.
It's true. Do you know how big David is?
He's huge.
I mean, I've never seen him. I just assumed he was human-sized.
No.
And then I'm just like, no, this guy's 3 stories tall. He is enormous.
Yeah.
Where did I get this frame of reference? I feel as though it was the episode of The Simpsons.
It is that, yeah.
Where I'm just like, oh, he must just be person-sized. But even you watch that episode of The Simpsons, and he's quite big in that episode. So
Yep.
I'm like, no, surely that's a mistake. Surely when it says that he's 30 feet tall, they actually just meant 6 feet tall. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And he's standing on a base which is 10
Yep.
feet tall.
Yep.
I'm like, how is the base 10 feet tall if they've got this tiny little six? No, he's enormous. So can you imagine Michelangelo on this sort of stress-induced, he's trying to solve the riddle of
Yep.
the perfect golden ratio of the columns within this cathedral, and it's driving him insane.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden this giant monstrous statue of David comes to life and starts giving him inspirational talks.
Yep.
Michelangelo also painted the roof of the Sistine Chapel, right?
I thought that was Da Vinci who
That was
did the
Da Vinci?
Sistine Chapel.
Interesting.
Hang on.
thought-
I'm almost certain that it was Da Vinci that did the Sistine Chapel. Yeah, he was. He painted the walls of the Sistine Chapel. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought it was Michelangelo.
Maybe it is Michelangelo. Yep, I'm getting far more hits for that. So it was Michelangelo who did the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
I always thought that was the 16th chapel as well when I was little, which is a bit weird. I mean, it sounds like Sistine when you're a kid isn't a word, and 16th is a word.
Yep.
So It made much more sense to be the 16th Chapel.
Maybe this is the 16th Chapel in Rome.
The 16th Chapel?
Yep, I think this is now the name of the film as well.
Right.
So we can avoid that hoo-ha later on.
I actually quite like that. The 16th Chapel.
Yep.
And in a way, it's like... maybe it takes like 160 years to design and make, and like this is its story. And we even open the story with like they're opening it. This is the grand chapel. There'll never be one better until the 17th chapel, and it's definitely better than all of the 15 chapels that have come before.
What we do is the opening shot is like the doors to the chapel closed with a like ribbon on it, close up artistic shot of like, I don't know, something about to... What did they didn't have scissors back then, but like a knife, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
To like cut the ribbon, and then the doors start to open, and then we cut to black, and we go back in time.
Back in time, and then forward in time,
and then forward in time, and then back in time, and then we never return to the start of the film until right at the very end in a post-credit sequence.
Yeah.
Because that's incredibly pretentious to require the audience to stay behind, not for an Avengers style, here's a bonus for you, no, for a like critical story-based reason for this film. You need to watch the entire credits and then watch the post-credit sequence as well to understand what this film is all about. All right, I like this. So, what else can we do to like really up the art house value of this? I'm thinking like locked off camera shots as well. Lots of that. Like, we stick a camera up in the corner of the chapel. We should actually build the chapel. Actually,
I think so. I mean, the issue here is like, whilst we're being so historically accurate with every other detail of the life and times of these Renaissance polymaths and architects. I mean, polymath covers it all.
Yep.
The fact that the 16th chapel doesn't exist anymore, maybe that's also a point of, maybe we do the whole, oh, Papa, I found this diary and it shows of a building that does not exist anymore.
Yep.
I was like, and he looks it up and I was like, oh, little Pepe. Because like, he says Papa and it's Pepe.
Yep.
Oh, this is a historical find. This is... We are standing on the very spot where it should be.
And that person needs to be a distant relative of one of those artists as well.
All of them.
All of them. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we explain it away that way. It's like there's this grand, magnificent chapel used to exist.
Yep.
And through time. So again, we should probably call it the 16th chapel, but in Italian. Yeah. So I know like the Quattrocente is like the 14th century.
Yep.
What's 16th? Please don't tell me it's Sistine.
Hang on, I'm going to like, because I'm trying to think of the number for 16. I actually know how to count to at least 10. All right, let me consult the Academy.
Yes.
And we'll find out how to say.
And just ignore that your last name is Scarcella.
And I live in Hollywood, and I'm a successful film producer. Here we go. La sedicissima cappella.
Sedicissima cappella.
La sedicissima cappella.
Okay, cool, great. And that's the 16th chapel.
That's the 16th chapel in Italian.
Italian, great.
Which will then convert to Latin.
I imagine in 14th and 15th century Italy, they're speaking Italian at that point.
Yep. But we're going to have it in Latin anyway.
I think so.
What we'll do on the poster, you know how they usually have, sometimes on foreign films, they'll put the translation of the title underneath it?
Yeah.
Our translation will be in Latin. So we're just going to convert La sedicissima cappella into Latin, and that's going to be on the poster. With no other visual imagery, by the way. It's just going to be the text on a black poster. Okay. This is feeling suitably pretentious now.
Oh, I think so.
Suitably art house. Do we need some of the artists... whatever one we choose needs to be in black and white as well.
Okay, I like that. But black and white where, like in Schindler's List, there is one colour, and you always see that colour.
Absolutely. Let's use... so Donatello looked to be more of a sculptor-y kind of type, and did a lot of, like, I guess, bronzy kind of statues as well.
Normally you see that colour is always one of the primary colours. I like it being a metallic colour.
Yeah.
So Donatello is shot entirely in black and white,
yep,
except for the things that are bronze, showing up as being bronze.
Because I like the idea as well that like Donatello only sees in bronze as well.
Yeah,
so, like,
even like if he's a sculptor as well,
yep,
unlike the other ones who are artists, he doesn't even see in color. He sees in shapes and tones and shades.
And I like the idea, right? Like if he's got a piece of bronze that's got all this other stuff attached to it, and he hasn't figured out, or he's trying to create a statue. From his viewpoint, he sees the whole statue, the color of it. Everything else surrounding it is black and white. So he's just like,
That's all we can focus on.
He gets rid of the black and white parts, and then what's left is this beautiful statue that he sculptured. So that's the only thing he sees. He sees the artwork before it's even made because it's the only thing he can see. In the same way that like Vincent van Gogh only sees this world that no one else seems to see.
He sees light in a different way, the way that light interplays with things. That's Donatello's thing.
Yep.
Are we going to cast Donatello now?
Yeah, why not?
I'm thinking, how about, and it needs to be Oscar nominee or Oscar winner.
To be honest, Donatello kind of looks like Willem Dafoe.
Really?
Yes. I'll just send you over the picture. It's like Willem Dafoe by way of Genghis Khan.
Well, hopefully by the time this film's made, William Dafoe's won the Academy Award for At Eternity's Gate.
Yes.
And so he can be in our film as Donatello.
Yep. He's surely been nominated for something.
I think he's definitely
Spider-Man.
But this
surely.
is, I mean, we've got to really have the cream of the crop here.
Cream of the crop, okay.
We can't really just go with any old person. It has to be Academy Award winning nominee or any of those ones there.
Yep. Okay.
All right. So now we move on to Raphael.
Raphael. So Raphael looks quite young. So I'll just send you over the image now.
Oh yeah, this is definitely one of the ones that history has rewritten to be male, but was definitely originally female.
Yep.
And has what sort of look? Again, Rachel Weisz would be pretty good for this one. We really can't just keep stealing the actors and actresses from the trailers of the movies that we've watched.
Kind of looks like what's her face from Girls, the creator of Girls.
Lena Dunham.
I don't think she's won an Oscar though.
No, definitely. But she may have won Golden Globes or People's Choice.
Yep.
Or,
How about Tilda Swinton?
Interesting.
She's definitely won stuff that I'm aware of. And she has that kind of like ability to really transform her look into anything.
I mean, I was about to say, I'm not sure she'd be right for this, but like, I don't think I've ever seen like a film that Tilda Swinton's been in that isn't incredibly pretentious.
Wasn't she in one of the Golden Compass films?
She was also in Constantine. The Keanu Reeves plays a fallen demon hunter. So sure, I think so. I think that's a pretty good sharp-faced, weird-looking as Raphael, Tilda Swinton.
Yep. Now, we have a problem because you mentioned that you wanted to have like a 50-50 kind of male-female casting.
Yeah.
The last two characters we have to cast do look quite male. They both feature very heavy beards. But maybe we do it like Cate Blanchett in that Bob Dylan film.
Yeah. Or even Gwyneth Paltrow having to pretend to be it could work out all right.
Oh man, what film was that?
Shakespeare in Love.
Of course. So we've got Leonardo da Vinci, classic bearded
I
Jesus
reckon
man.
Good casting for Leonardo is Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz, yes.
I think he is Academy Award winning Christoph Waltz.
Yep. Michelangelo again looks like Willem Dafoe. Can we cast him again?
I don't think so. Does William Dafoe have a sister? Who would be good? What about Gwyneth Paltrow? Is she? She's probably too busy telling people to eat health food
and shove eggs up your private bits if you want. Yep. What about Kate? Well, so we do Cate Blanchett quite a lot.
Cate Blanchett's every other week.
Yep.
She's such a fantastic actress.
She really is. But, I mean, she is a
what
Academy
about
Award-winning.
Judi
Dench?
Judi Dench is
a bit too old.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe yeah. If we're going to do characters who go through time,
Emma Thompson.
Emma Thompson is a perfect casting
because she has
one.
Definitely won an Oscar for writing
screenplay,
and for acting.
Yeah, for Sense and Sensibility, I believe.
Yeah,
and Nanny McPhee's probably the other one. Sure, that's great. I like that. I like that cast. We have Tilda Swinton,
Emma Thompson,
Christoph Waltz, and Willem Dafoe.
Unless we recast Willem Dafoe.
What's that?
Do we recast Willem Dafoe? Does he fit this cast?
I think so. I think he's...
All right, I'm fine with that.
I think he's fine in that role.
Okay.
I think the interesting one here is these actors are never in scenes together. Ever.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Like, we pretty much go... And that, I mean, logistically works out quite well because we don't have to book them all at the same time.
Yep. But I think in the film, as part of the editing, we will have shots where they're like ghosting over each other as well.
Absolutely.
So like we overlay like 4 different time frames over the top of each other at some point in the film. So you just see these like ghostly versions of each of the actors doing their thing on the scene, but they never actually physically interact with each other while we're shooting. So they're all shot separately. But yeah, they never have to meet each other in the film.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
I'm still lacking one key element of pretension.
Yes.
And I'm just like, I'm not 100% sure what it is.
Yep.
Is it a soundtrack?
Yeah.
That is like only made using like industrial equipment.
Yes.
So like it's some weird German sound producer who goes to an old factory and he just records the clanking sounds there. and it's sort of, we use it like the Birdman one shot kind of like, this is clank dunk clank clank dunk. And that's the entire film.
No dialogue either.
No dialogue. I mean, there is like, there's dialogue in Birdman, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we do the whole thing as like a one shot, like one of the characters, their entire arc is a one shot as well.
Yep. Yeah, good idea.
But this sort of clank dunk dunk
Yep.
clank just sort of goes through the entire film.
Yep.
And everyone's like, that's a really weird choice. And I'm like, yeah, it is.
But then we can subtitle that soundtrack as well in Latin. So we'll have like, if we say, I don't know if we want to have dialogue or not, but I think there should be some scenes where there isn't any dialogue, and the dialogue is basically the soundtrack itself.
The soundtrack is telling you, like,
it's basically telling you what these characters are saying. But then we also also subtitle those as well.
Oh right, you're subtitling
the clanks and the knocks,
and the groaning metal as it's being strained, as is like it's literally and physically being strained and stretched beyond the shape in which it was originally forged.
Yep. And the subtitles will be metaphorical in nature as well.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Not actually indicating actual dialogue, but like, let's say they do have a groan or whatever, the subtitle in Latin will just read anguish, despair.
Well, I mean, that's what I really dislike about these soundtracks you see. It's just like, I've got two pictures and it says music plays.
Yep.
And I'm like, is it a forlorn crying of a strained gear that's missing two of its teeth as it tries to push the conveyor? But like, this is the kind of descriptions that we need.
Absolutely.
Because the music is so emotional.
Yep.
How would you convey that if not through poetry?
Yeah, exactly. So that's how our film's going to be. I think I'm going to double down on the no dialogue thing. I don't think our film should have any like traditional dialogue.
Actually, I like that entire sort of like, in any of the arcs, or is it just one of the arcs?
I don't think I think we can pull it off for all of the arcs.
Yeah, okay. I like that. I really like that, actually.
I think we need to find a different way to convey dialogue in inverted commas for each of those arcs. So one of them is the clanking soundtrack that will cover the artistic kind of, or the feel intent of the scene. Another one might just be there's like someone doing Morse code in the back for some reason.
Yeah.
Or like a sign language interpreter comes up on screen.
I like it. I like the no. I mean, it's really going to be hard for subtitles, because where are the yellow subtitles going to come in? I suppose it's the poetry of the music.
Yeah,
comes up in poetic subtitles.
Yes,
but it's definitely not what the people are saying.
Exactly. And I mean, you need to understand Latin to read those subtitles anyway.
Exactly.
It's a very interesting experience, this one. It's an auditory,
it is
visual,
borderline unwatchable, and that's exactly what we're going for.
Okay. Brilliant. I guess that's it. We do have a name for this film already, thankfully, which is oh gosh, I actually speak some Italian as well. La Sidicissima Cappella. And then whatever that is in Latin will be the subtitle translation for
exactly,
that, which is in common
parlance.
Common parlance.
The 16th chapel.
The 16th chapel. And I think that's a wrap.
I think you might be right.
All right. Housekeeping, as per usual, we are online at moviefilmstudios.net, where you can find all of our previous episodes, our bios, and of course, Mfuza, which is a database of the films that we've created on this podcast. Search Facebook for Movie Film Studios and join the community, where we post clues as to the upcoming trailers for upcoming episodes. How are you going to go this week?
Tough week.
Super tough week. How are you gonna convey the pretentiousness of At Eternity's Gate with emojis?
I can probably do Gate.
Yep.
I can probably do Family for Instant Family, and that's pretty much the extent of it. I tell you what, I have been having fun though with the Google Translate, because you don't just put it in once.
Yep.
You've got to run it through the machine,
run it through the
cycle it through 3 or 4 different languages.
Yep.
The kind of stuff that you come out is crazy.
Yep.
I was showing a friend this, and we did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it was came out with The Bird and the Dark Horse. I'm like, where did it get any of these? What words translated from? I get the bird, but where did Dark Horse come from? And it completely got rid of the idea of flying. So
maybe in honor of this week's film, you need to first of all translate them to Italian, then from Italian into Latin, and then from Latin into English.
We'll see what comes out on the other side there.
All right, and we are on iTunes, Podbean, Spotify, and any other place that you get podcasts from. As a side note, Isaac and I will be performing in a couple of improv shows on the 22nd and 23rd of September as part of Sydney Fringe Festival.
Yep, so that's the Factory Theatre in Marrickville?
Yes, that's where we will be performing. And performing the Rat King Fairy Tale, which will be a completely improvised look at the world of fairy tales.
Yeah.
It should be fun.
Where can they book tickets for that one,
You can
AJ?
book tickets on the Sydney Fringe Festival website. Just search for Rat King or Fairy Tale or combinations of those, and you should find it. And I think that's it.
All that remains is to thank you all again for listening this week. I've been Isaac.
And I've been AJ.
Roll credits.